And we're going to begin in Kaikoura, and the inland road to the town will be open for unrestricted use on Monday for the first time since the quake nearly 5 weeks ago. This is very good news, obviously, for Kaikoura. There will be speed restrictions and traffic control in place as work is still continuing on many parts of Route 70, but anything is welcome for a tourist town that can't get tourists. Meanwhile, crews are continuing to work on clearing State Highway 1 south of Kaikoura following yesterday's announcement that up to $2 billion will be spent reinstating the State Highway coastal route. Obviously south from Picton to Kaikoura and then south from Kaikoura to Christchurch. There is some belief that the road south, State Highway 1 south, can be open within the next couple of weeks. That would be a remarkable achievement. Now, one person who's amazed at the changes to that coastline is NIWA marine ecology technician Mark Fenwick. He travelled there to see how the quake affected the region's crayfish and took some striking photos, which you can see if you're watching online or on Freeview Channel 50. But if you're listening, I asked Mark Fenwick just how extraordinary those changes are.
Well, the easiest way to describe it is, when I arrived on the beach down there on the very first day, we went down to do a briefing with fishermen that were going to take part in the survey, and I thought, well, I'm here, I might as well go and have a look at the beach. And I went to the beach, and it's like nothing I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I got the camera out and walked around and took photos, and then I thought, well, I've got to take lots and lots of photos because I'll never see anything like this again in my lifetime.
And what were you seeing?
So basically the reef and rocks that were under the water prior to the earthquake were sticking out, over my head height. And when I say sticking out, I mean the bull kelp holdfasts on some of the rocks were actually over my head out of the water. So you can imagine that there's a lot of water gone, or the seabed has raised up considerably. And you sort of get the feeling initially that, well, I better be careful here because the water might come back. But after spending, 12 days down there, you realise the water's not coming back anytime soon, unless something catastrophic happens.
So this is the kind of stuff that I remember from not very good books at school, a kind of description of stuff that took place long before we were here and formed the earth, right, that we live in. But in fact, it's happening now. And do you think we've sort of comprehended the magnitude of this?
It's so difficult to get your head around. Even having been to Ward and seen what's happened there, we must be of a certain age because I cast my mind back to the Napier earthquake and pictures that I'd seen in books of that, and thought, that's one thing, a black and white photo in a book. To actually be on the ground and see the damage, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's nice of you to say we're of a certain age. I'm a lot older than you, Mark, but you're a very kind guest, and you're welcome back on Checkpoint anytime. Let's talk about the crayfish, because crayfish are interestingly adaptable, aren't they? They can do the shallows and they can go out quite deep. And so have they survived relatively intact?
I can really only say from what I observed, and we saw plenty of crayfish. I think they're probably fine, but that's only an opinion. What we did for MPI was collect numbers, and it's the numbers that they need to work out what really has gone on. And it may be that we've got to do a couple of surveys to figure it all out. It's a very complex question. You have to imagine that the territory or the spaces where the crayfish live must have changed dramatically.
Yeah. So forgive me, this is such an ignorant question. Do crayfish have a home? Do they return to the same gap in the rocks every evening?
You would think so, but they do move around a lot. They go backwards and forwards looking for food and for mating and for various other biological reasons. So they're pretty mobile.
Okay, so it's not like they're swimming along thinking, hold on a sec, where's number 52? It's left, it's not there anymore. Exactly. But their habitat has completely, at the shallower end, disappeared without trace.
Yes, and there's no other way to describe it. It's a sea change for them. If you excuse the pun. And the chaos that must have gone on when that actually happened would have been amazing to see. It's just one of those things that it happened in the middle of the night. But I said before that there was this sort of fear in me that the sea was going to come back at some point, and it didn't really leave me. Even when we were traipsing around on the rocks, there's a few images there of us on a bit of a rock platform. And it was quite a nervy thing, because you think, if this has lifted up, it could always go the other way. But the geologists tell us that the entire sort of east coast is a bit prone to this uplift. So in the short term, it's a bizarre thing, but in the long term, it probably isn't.
And in the long term, that's the coastline now. Exactly.
And all those years of fishing, this is these guys' livelihoods. All that experience and knowing where to set pots and knowing where the crayfish are at certain times of the year, that's all likely to change while they wait for the habitat to come back.
Mark Fenwick from NIWA.